Hey Hermits, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dara and today we are going to be talking all about my reading habits. I'm actually going to be doing the reading habits tag, which I recently saw on Tiff Talks Page's channel. I can't find the original creator. I'm going to have another look before I upload this. But if I can't find the name, I can't find the name. I'm sorry. I always try and link to the original creator, but sometimes it's just not possible. So let me dive in with the questions. I'll pop them all in the description box in case you would also like to do this video too. It feels like fun. I love talking about books. I love talking about how I read books too. So hopefully you will find something inspiring in today's video. Okay, question number 1. Do you have a certain place at home for reading? No, I am an equal opportunities reader. Sometimes I read sat here at my desk, like if I have a little bit of time in between appointments, or if I'm hosting a breathwork session or a hypnosis session and people are just sort of zoned out and chilling and I have a few minutes, I will read a few pages. Sometimes I read in the kitchen while the kettle's boiling or while my dinner is in the oven. Sometimes I read on the couch, sometimes I read in the bath, sometimes I read in bed, sometimes I read in the garden. Like, I'm not fussy. If there's somewhere for me to stand or sit, then I will stand or sit and read. Bookmark or random piece of paper? Both. So sometimes I will use a bookmark. Sometimes I'll use whatever I have handy, whether that is a piece of paper, an envelope, a pen. This one time I used a biscuit. And then sometimes I will also leave my books just sort of propped open. Like, I am not precious about that kind of thing. I buy the bulk of my books secondhand, so it's not like I have all of these pristine collector's editions that I'm trying to keep perfect. Can you just stop reading, or do you have to stop after a chapter or a certain amount of pages? So my preference is to stop at the end of a chapter, or at least, so you know how some chapters are broken up into sections, like maybe with a little star or a little swirl. Ideally I'll get at least to like that point. If that's not possible, then usually I will try and read to the end of a page. But because as I mentioned, I'll often like read a few pages here and there while something else is happening. So if, for example, I'm on a call and I just have a couple of minutes, then I can't necessarily be like, please hang on while I just finish my chapter. I just sort of have to stop and then continue with work because that has to be the priority. And if that's the case, then I will just finish where I finish. If I happen to have finished mid-page, as an example, it's not a fun time when that happens. First world problems though. Then when I pick up reading again, I will just start from the top of that page, because, you know, if you've stopped like mid-paragraph or mid-page, then sometimes you just sort of lose the strand. So I like to go back to the start of that page and read it again. Do you eat or drink while reading? I pretty much always have a cup of tea on the go when I'm reading, so I definitely drink while reading, and I will eat too. Like, I don't have special reading snacks. Like, I've watched a few of people do this video and they have like designated reading snacks, and yeah, I don't do that. But I will, like, if I'm hungry, I will eat something while I'm reading. It's not a big deal. When I was younger, I used to read while I was eating my like main meal, so like breakfast, lunch, dinner. I would read my book at the same time. I don't do that so much now, partly because I try and eat a little bit more mindfully instead of just completely zoning out, and partly because these days, like, a lot of the time I'm eating with somebody else and it just feels a little bit rude and inconsiderate if they're like trying to share a meal with you in a conversation and you're just like reading, bye. So yeah, I don't really read while I eat my meals anymore, but I do snack and have drinks and all of that stuff. Multitasking, music or TV while reading? Yeah, again, like I said, equal opportunities reader over here, and it very much depends on my mood, the noise I can have on in the background. So sometimes I want to read in silence, sometimes I want to read with music on, and that can be instrumental or music with lyrics. Like, that doesn't bother me at all. And then sometimes I will read with ASMR rooms or like that kind of ambient noise on it in the background. And yes, sometimes I will read while the TV is on. Oftentimes, if I'm watching, say, YouTube videos and there are ads running, instead of skipping the ads, I'll just read a couple of pages while the ads are playing. It's just a little way of supporting YouTubers, isn't it? And then when I'm watching TV, I will read while the ad breaks are on, just because that sort of increases the amount that I'm reading while not pushing me to pick between TV and reading, because I enjoy both. When I was younger, I really learned the skill of reading while listening to music. I know not a lot of people can do that, especially music with lyrics, but I actually find it really helpful, and I find that it helps me remember what I read a lot better as well. This is what I used to do when I was revising. So I would listen to a specific album while I was revising for a specific exam. And then while I was sat in the exam, I could like sort of sing the songs to myself in my head. And as I did that, all of the information would come back to me. And the first time I realised that this was a thing was when I was reading Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, and I just got Britney Spears' Oops, I Did It Again album, and I was listening to that on repeat while reading the book, and that was like one of the most memorable books I've ever read. For that reason, I could like conjure really specific details, so I sort of transferred that insight to my revision, and now I do it to retain the books that I read as well, because I read so much. I think if I didn't use that little hack, then I would forget so many things that I've read. So yeah, I love listening to music while I read. I have specific reading playlists, or sometimes I'll just search for something that gives me the mood I'm looking for. But like I said, background noise doesn't bother me one little bit. Reading at home or everywhere? Everywhere. I always have a book with me, whether that is a Kindle book or a physical book. I've always got something to read. Often I will have both the Kindle app on my phone and a physical book with me, just because I like options. But at the very minimum, I have the Kindle app on my phone so I can read wherever I am. Yeah. Like I said, equal opportunities, VEDA. If I don't have somebody there like demanding my attention, I'll probably be reading. One book at a time or several at once. Always several at once. So I've always got an audiobook on the go and then a physical book on the go. I've usually always got a non-fiction book on the go and a classic on the go. So at any given time, I've usually got at least 4 books on the go, at least. I'm just trying to think of the books that I have on the go at the moment, and I think I have 6, maybe 7. It's a problem, but it's a problem I'm willing to have, so who cares? Reading out loud or silently in your head? Silently in my head. Do people read out loud? Is that a thing that people do? I mean, I'm just imagining people like sat in their houses by themselves reading books out loud. That's weird. I mean, it's different if you're reading to someone. I think that's okay, but that's weird, right? I think that's weird. Do you read ahead or even skip pages? No. I used to. So if I started feeling anxious during a book, if my like nervous system was activated and I was feeling really uneasy, I would read the last page. And I like, even as I say this, I'm like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm admitting this. But I used to read the last page, and that just used to like calm me down. Yes, it did always impact the enjoyment that I had from like the big reveals and all of that stuff, but there was a time in my life where I just couldn't take the unease and the anxiety, so I didn't. I'm okay with that now, so I don't skip forward, I don't read ahead. In fact, I actively avoid it because I do really actually quite hate spoilers. I think it's also easier now that I read a lot of Kindle books, because it's not like you can just easily like flip open and look at the back page or look at a few chapters from now. It would take a lot of tapping to get there, so that's a real benefit of ebooks. Next question, breaking the spine or keeping it like new? Breaking the spine, like I'm not, wait, let me take that back. So I'm not one of those people who will buy a new book and immediately just pick it up and be like, snap, snap, snap. I've seen people do that. I think that's odd, but I do read my books and I am not precious about how I read them. I don't read them like this. I don't like, yeah, I don't have any rules for myself in terms of reading. I just want to be comfortable. So if that means opening my book wide and the spine getting cracked, like that's not an issue. And I think also because I buy a lot of secondhand books, I always have, it doesn't bother me if the spines are already broken, if pages are already creased, if things have a little bit of water damage, like that's not an issue for me. I like my books to feel well loved. In fact, when books are too perfect, if I had shelves of just perfectly pristine, immaculate books, I think it would feel really just impersonal and I don't know, like antiseptic is the word that's coming to mind. Like I always think that those are the bookshelves that feel less appealing to me when I see other people's shelves and everything is like the same height and everything is like glistening and nothing is creased and nothing is bent. Like that to me doesn't feel like a well-loved, well-read library, and that's more of the vibe that I want. Like I want my book rooms to feel like cozy and lived in and adored because that's what they are. Do you write in your books? I do in some. So I'm not a big annotator of fiction. So obviously when I was at university, I had to annotate fiction a lot. I still do sometimes. So if I have like big favorites that I reread again and again, then sometimes I will annotate those. I don't typically annotate anything on the first read because I just sort of like to immerse myself in the moment and enjoy that, with the one exception of reading non-fiction. So I will often like write notes in non-fiction books because that just helps me retain the information more, and because I read a lot of non-fiction for the purposes of my work, that's really helpful. If it's just non-fiction for enjoyment, then I'm not so bothered and I don't necessarily take the same amount of notes. Sometimes I will, but sometimes I don't need to. But if I'm reading something specifically with work in mind, so developing my business, establishing a new skill in the field that I work in, then I will definitely take notes inside the books. And it's helpful for me to have it in the book rather than in a separate notebook, just because then you're always like trying to like dig out the right journal, and like, that's a whole thing because you know I'm a stationery hoarder and there are so many to choose from. So keeping everything in the book that it's applying to is just helpful for me. And then last but not least, tag other people. So I'm not going to tag anybody, but if you have watched this video and you think, do you know what, I want to talk about my own reading habits, tag yourself. That's what I did. I always tag myself in these things. So that's going to be it for me today. So I had to keep this one short and sweet because I have a work appointment in about 7 minutes and I still need to go make myself another cup of tea. So if you've enjoyed this video, definitely consider filming your own. I would love to hear like your opinions on my reading habits. Have I said anything that shocked you, that made you think, oh my god, you are a crazy person? How can you read like that? Tell me about that in the comments. Let's have a chat about that. Like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you fancy it, and I will see you very soon in my next upload.